Alright, let's dive into this WNBA controversy that's way more complex than a simple foul call. So here's what happened. DiJonai Carrington of the Chicago Sky hits Sophie Cunningham of the Indiana Fever with a hard foul during a fast break. It gets called a Flagrant 2, Carrington gets ejected, and then boom, she posts white privilege on social media, tagging Cunningham. Immediately, the narrative spirals into race, intent, and whether sports can ever stay just sports. But wait, let's slow down. There's a lot more here than meets the eye. First off, let's dissect that foul. Cunningham claims it was intentional. The ref upgrades it to a Flagrant 2 because of the wind-up, impact, and follow-through. But Carrington's coach, Tyler Marsh, argues she was going for the ball. So here's the tension. Was this a calculated act of aggression, or a split-second defensive mistake that got blown out of proportion? And why does race immediately enter the conversation? Because, honestly, it's impossible to separate intent from perception here. If Carrington had stayed silent, this might have been a routine foul analysis. But that social media post? It shifted the entire focus to identity politics. Now, Cunningham's response is fascinating. She says, this has nothing to do with race, and points out she got ejected last year for similar behavior. But here's the thing, when you're a white athlete tagged with a racialized comment after a physical play, the natural reaction is to deny it. But does that dismissal ignore the reality of how race shapes interactions, even in sports? I mean, Cunningham's argument is that accountability should be colorblind, but in a society where race influences everything, can we really divorce a comment like white privilege from its context? That's the paradox here. Then there's the Fever coach, Stephanie White, who walks a tightrope. She calls it a hard foul but not necessarily intentional. Marsh, meanwhile, hasn't even seen the replay. That silence speaks volumes. And let's not forget Cunningham's history of speaking out against transgender inclusion in women's sports. She's already a polarizing figure, right? So when she defends Caitlin Clark from criticism or advocates for trans exclusion, she's framing herself as a protector of fairness. But how does that intersect with this incident? Is her stance on race and identity consistent, or does it feel situational? Because if you're pushing for a women's space defined by certain biological boundaries, how do you reconcile that with dismissing race as a factor in a moment of conflict? Here's what this boils down to: sports aren't just about the game anymore. They're a battleground for cultural wars. The WNBA, in particular, has become a space where players' personal beliefs about race, gender, justice collide with their professional lives. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's memo on transgender participation? That's not just policy, it's a reaction to pressure from players like Cunningham who've amplified their views. And now, with Clark's technical foul getting rescinded, there's the question of how the league balances accountability with protecting its rising stars. But let's zoom out. What's the bigger story here? It's that athletes are human. They carry their biases, traumas, and ideologies onto the court. Carrington's post wasn't just a reaction to a foul, it was a statement about power, perception, and who gets to define justice in moments of conflict. Cunningham's refusal to engage with the racial angle? That's a statement too. And the coaches? They're just trying to win games while the world burns around them. So what's next? I think this incident is a symptom of a league and a society trying to navigate impossible tensions. Can the WNBA be a place where athletes thrive without their off-court beliefs overshadowing the game? Or is this the new normal, where every foul, every post, every technical foul is a potential headline? Personally, I think the line between sports and culture has vanished. And honestly? That makes for better storytelling, but way harder refereeing. What do you think? Drop your take in the comments. I'm curious how you're processing all this chaos.